and welcome back to Finally Game Music. This is the episode 150 and today's thematic is a composer theme. Today we're going to talk and learn more about Yasunori Mitsuda. And damn, I got some information for you, and there's a lot of games to go through as well. I've picked 5 tracks that we're going to listen to this week because they're so freaking amazing. And also kind of tell their story in their own kind of meaning of Yasunori's kind of career, so to speak. So who is Yasunori Mitsuda then? He was born in Tokuyama, Japan, the 21st of January 1972. And already at the age of 5, Yasunori began taking piano lessons. However, he was more interested in sport at this time. So he kind of stands out already here from the beginning. Usually we have these wonder children that learn to play piano or learn to play any kind of instrument quite early in their time, and then they just continued, and that's what they become. But for Yasunori, he was more interested in sports at this time, and he was not taking music seriously in any way. And he also did quit taking piano lessons by the age of 6. So early in his life, he actually wanted to become a professional golfer. Well, now in retrospect, we know that did not happen. But so what kind of got him back to the music part then? Well, while in high school, Yasunori actually discovered the music, and this was because of the movie Railman. He decided that he wanted to become a music composer after watching that one, and getting a couple of influences as well. When Yasunori was young, his father actually bought a PC, something that was a rare item at the time, and on this PC Yasunori started to program video games and compose music for them. And at the same time he also started taking more technical oriented classes in school. So after high school, Yasunori actually leaves his family home and wants to become more independent. And with the encouragement of his father and his sister, he moves to Tokyo to enroll at a junior college for music. And at the college he had a very special education there, as his instructors were actually musicians themselves that actually worked with music. And we're talking about original music where they basically go to gigs and everything. So during his time, therefore, he would often join them on the gigs that instructors did. So he helped them carry and set up equipment, and at the cost of being used for physical labor, he actually got first-hand view on the Japanese music world, together with great training in music that he could use for the rest of his life. Yasunori was granted an intern position at the Japanese studio Wolf Team, today more known as Namco Tale Studio. And closer to the end of his internship, his master actually told him that he needs to get a job, as they could not employ him. When Yasunori asked where he could search for them, his master just flipped over a certain game magazine where a game company would just end up, and were shown that they were looking for game composers. Yasunori had no intentions of making video game music to begin with, or in the beginning, so he hesitated a little bit, but he did not have any other jobs. So early in February 1992, Yasunori prepared a resume and a demo tape with 3 songs. 2 weeks passed and Yasunori still haven't heard anything. So a little rushed, he actually contacted the studio, and their lead sound designer answered that 3 songs weren't enough, they needed more. So they basically wanted Yasunori to just send a few more songs, and Yasunori then quickly made 3 more songs during March, and after the second day, he actually gets a call. It is time for an interview. He heads over to the company and sits down with no other than Nobuo Uematsu and Minoru Akao. Yasunori gets questions like, "Have you ever played Final Fantasy? Haven't you? What have you done to my game? Oh, old PC games. Ooh, no, I did that. And are you going to stay here all the time?" Yasunori did not have any plans to stay for long. He only saw this job as a stepping stone, and he was quite forward with that. And despite what Yasunori then felt like some rude questions, he still landed the job and started as an employee at the Japanese company Square since April 1992. So the first game Yasunori worked on was Final Fantasy V, that released in 1992, the same year when he actually got the employment. And he only worked on sound effects for that game, so no music at all, even though he was actually employed as a game composer. So the following games, such as Secret of Mana, Romancing Saga, The Seventh Saga, and Live a Live, were only games where he actually just worked on sound effect or voices within these games. So, and a little bit of more information here. Usually, as he worked together with Nobuo Uematsu and the other colleagues that he had there, they actually had a pretty tight team. So Nobuo Uematsu would actually be able to, if he heard Yasunori working on a sound or something like that he really liked, then Nobuo could just rush into where Yasunori was and say, like, oh, no, we're keeping it like that. Don't rework anything else. Which was also pretty fun to hear about how kind of open and kind of helpful they are to each other when they are actually finding something that they really do like. But going back to Yasunori here, he was not actually super excited by his work here at the beginning. He joined the company as a composer and he was never allowed to write a song. So in the end, the kind of frustration grew for him, and he basically took the question to the vice president, Hironobu Sakaguchi. And he basically said, I cannot do this anymore to this point. I will quit if you do not let me write a song. And the answer came next day. If you say so, try this new title. That was his first music composition for this company and professionally in his career. And this was for the game Chrono Trigger. A game that a lot of us holds very dear to our hearts. So we're going to listen to, for the first song or track of this week, we're going to listen to Chrono Trigger and the song Fanfare 1. And I just felt that playing the fanfare was just too good of a choice. First of all, it is a really nice tune. I really do enjoy it. The fanfare is basically the one song that plays when you've beaten enemies in battle. And then you're getting the XP information and everything. Because Chrono Trigger is an RPG game. That's where you get this one. And the fanfare, because he's landing his first job, also going in hard to talk to the CEO here and just say, I'm going to quit if I'm not able to make music. So that is just amazing, and I kind of want to dedicate this fanfare to Yasunori himself by creating it, but also as a victory tune to himself, because when it comes to Chrono Trigger, there's a lot of people that really holds this soundtrack high. Really high. It is really amazing. There's so many good songs in this soundtrack as well, and it's been remixed so freaking many times. So yeah, I really do enjoy. So looking at Chrono Trigger, it was the first Square game that Yasunori actually composed for, but it is not the last one. He worked together with Nobuo Uematsu, and Nobuo Uematsu was a good friend that he actually usually took a beer with after work. The game, it was released on the 11th of March in 1995 in Japan and the 11th of August in the US, and it quickly became a classic. A game that also has a lot of ports and even a PlayStation version that included cinematics made by the character designer of Dragon Ball. So it was really interesting just to see the development of the game as well, not just the Super Nintendo original game. So yeah, I really did enjoy this. And for me, I usually played Chrono Trigger because it never released here in Europe. So the only way I could play it was through either by importing the game, but I did not know how to actually import things. So I was clueless there. So I only played the game early in my life on emulators. And I really did enjoy this game so freaking much. It was super fucking amazing. But also, the first time I actually completed this game was actually when I borrowed the DS version for Nintendo DS, and this version also had these cinematics, but they were more unlockables. So I played through the game and then I unlocked a lot of different cinematics and such, so I can just look through them. And I really did enjoy to get that extra glimpse into the game because it's such an amazing game. So, when it comes to Yasunori, he followed up with multiple types of games. We're going to talk about a lot of games today, but he followed up with games that were connected to the company Square in some ways. So we have Tobal number 1, we have Radical Dreamers and Gun Hazard in 1996, the following year, and then we get the first Xenogears game in 1998, which is also a game series that Yasunori is quite famous for. In the end of the 90s, he actually quit Squaresoft in order to become a freelancer and at the same time creating his own company, Procyon Studios. Yasunori wanted to focus more on composing music that he actually did not really get so much of a chance to at Squaresoft. So after leaving Square, he actually just threw out some mentions to several companies to see if they had any work for him. And they showered him with more work that he could ever cover at this moment in time. And with all the work, he could hire more composers and create a good team, in which he's very glad for. So in 1998, we have 2 games from the same series that sticks out in my opinion, especially this early in his career. And I believe we just need to listen to what Yasunori composed to when he composed the music for Mario Party 1. So we're going to listen to Bowser's theme. And there we have it, Bowser's theme from Mario Party 1. So, Mario Party 1, Yasunori is the only credited composer here, but there are a couple of songs and tracks in this game that he just mainly rearranged a bit of. So there are a couple of other composers as well, but they're not credited in this to the same extent as Yasunori is, since he composed most of the songs for this game. So the game was created by the Japanese company Nintendo. I guess you guys have heard of it, as usual. And the game was released on the 18th of December in Japan and the next year for the rest of the world. And this game was exclusively released on the N64. Following Mario Party here is the sequel in the next year, together with sound effects for the game Final Fantasy Anthology. Music composition for Chrono Cross and Bomberman 64 in 1999. And then we're getting... Oh, I'm so going to botch this name, so I'm so sorry, but Sugunai, Atonement, Shadow Hearts, and Legaia 2 Dual Saga, which follows in 2001. And many times as Yasunori composed all this, especially here in the beginning, but also during a more of a spanned out time here, he actually was composing new original albums based on these older games, such as Chrono Trigger and Xenogears. And these albums were released, and I'm going to jump a little bit ahead of time just to have all these covered here. So it's 1995, the same year as Chrono Trigger. We have 1998, 2011, and 2015. And the reason why Yasunori rearranged his own work is mostly because of some of the melodies he were limited by the sound chips when he was composing them. And he could not produce the sounds that he was looking for. And specifically for the Too Far Away Time from Chrono Trigger and a Chrono Cross arrangement album from 2015, this album was actually a concept that Yasunori had in his mind for about 20 years. So all the way from the original composition of Chrono Trigger all the way till 2015, he had this concept in mind of how he wanted the specific sound and how he wanted it to sound. So if you guys really do enjoy the music from Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, you should definitely check out Yasunori's other work and original albums, just to actually re-envision the music how he wanted it to truly sound back in the day. But the following years, in 2002, so we're going back in time a little bit here from the off-topic here with his rearrangements. So the following year, in 2002, we have the Xenosaga content for both Xenosaga, and we also have Final Fantasy Anthology release in Europe. 2 years after this one, Yasunori actually becomes a guest composer for the game Shadow Hearts Covenant for the PS2. And then composes the music for a very unique and special game named Graffiti Kingdom. And this is our second stop for this week, as we're going to listen to The Cloisters of Glacier and Flame. Graffiti Kingdom, The Cloister of Glacier and Flame, and I really did enjoy this song. I know I didn't talk that much about Bowser's theme, it felt more jazzy and I didn't really have any input on it. But when it comes to Graffiti Kingdom, I really did enjoy this song as well, and it feels so sincere, and I really do enjoy the kind of playfulness the song kind of has as well. So, and for some reason, in the beginning of the song, you had kind of a small slapping sound. And I don't know why, but in Graffiti Kingdom, you're basically running around as a little boy, and you're painting monsters, and you're fighting the monsters with the things you paint. And it's such a quirky and funny game. I only seen videos about this one. I really want to play this one myself, though, because it seems so weird and funny to some extent. And so the slapping part, it kind of reminds me of Bob Ross beat the devil out of it, beat shit out of it, where he just slaps his painting brush on the ansel. So he's just slapping it on the wood, on the leg there, and the slapping part kind of reminds me of that as well. So I'm wondering if it is intended as something like that, or if it's just something that did happen, and it just that I'm getting reminded of it because of the specific sound effect. I'm a little bit unsure, so I'll just hold that open, and let's see what you guys think about it. Do you agree with me, or do you disagree? Is it just more to the song, or does it actually have something extra to it? Not sure, going to keep it open. So, when it comes to Graffiti Kingdom, it was released in the 26th of July 2004, and this was in Japan. And the game was also released in both Europe and the US in the following year. The game was created by the Japanese company Taito Corporation. So going back to Yasunori here, so as a freelancer, he usually composes between 1 to 4 games for each year, but it also depends on how many composers he works together with. And looking at Graffiti Kingdom, Yasunori is the only music composer, but he worked together with the audio director Miki Ito. And following from this game, which is the last game that he worked on in 2004. We have, and I'm so going to botch this, it's usually when it comes to more kind of advanced Japanese names, but let's go with it. It's Tante Kibukawa Ryosuke Jikentan? I'm so sorry for that one. But yeah, this is basically like one of those Japanese Power Rangers Kamen Riders type of game. We have Namco x Capcom and 10,000 Bullets. And these were released in 2005. After that year, we get Monster Kingdom, Jewel Summoner, and Deep Labyrinth back in 2006, and the single game in 2007 is Luminous Arc. We have Sands of Destruction and Magnetica Twist in 2008, Thexder, Neo, and Arc Rise Fantasia in 2009, before we are going to land in another series we are more familiar with. So in 2010 we have the sole composed soundtrack. This is the only one he worked on during 2010, and it is for the game Xenoblade Chronicles. So we're going to listen to the ending theme, and why we're going to listen to this one specifically, we will take that after the song, but we're going to listen to the ending theme, Beyond the Sky.
Tell me why, the reason I am here, just only you I see from far away. I've come for you, don't know why. I searched all night and day, but when I'm here, darkness came, no lights to show the way. Dark despair, still I seek for you. All I longed to see was your smile. I know I won't look behind. I see no regrets, no guiding lights so dark. Oh, you, my light, but now I am here, and you're close to me. My heart is with you forever and ever.
Beyond the Sky, the ending theme from Xenoblade Chronicles. And this is just a super beautiful track. And when it comes to Yasunori was actually quite early in his time to want vocals in music. Especially in his career. I'm not talking about overall composing for video game music. Because he actually wanted to incorporate vocal music into Xenogears, the first played for PlayStation 1 in this series. So that was actually really interesting, in my opinion. I don't know if it's actually all connected, but Xenogears and Xenoblade, people who actually are more interested in this series than I am, because I'm not super huge fan of RPGs, JRPGs. So please correct me if I'm wrong here, but they are kind of connected, Xenoblade and Xenogears. But to the extent, anyway, the point still stands. He wanted to actually incorporate vocals into Xenogears already, and yeah, he actually gets the time to do so. And in my opinion, when it comes to Beyond the Sky, this is a really beautiful track, and just having the vocals, I don't know why, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of Celine Dion and My Heart Will Go On from the Titanic movie. I don't know if this is way better, because I haven't played the Chronicle, so I don't know which extent and how deep this song actually gets when you're playing the game. But just listening to this out of the context of the game, I just still really enjoy and love this track. So with that said, the game here was actually created by the Japanese studio Monolith Software, a company mostly owned by Nintendo but also Namco. The game, it was released on the 10th of June 2010 in Japan, and the next year it also releases for Europe, and in early 2012 it is also released in the US as well. The game, it also gets a port for the Wii U through the eShop, and a new 3DS version in US, which also came with some fixed issues that the game had. So the game was originally released for the Wii. And in 2011, Yasunori gets to work on the RPG sports game Inazuma 11 Strikers. After that, we get majestic music in Kid Icarus Uprisings in 2012, Wizardry Online and Soul Sacrifice in 2013, Terra Battle, and music arrangement in both versions of the Super Smash Bros. So it's the Wii U and the 3DS version. We get original score composition in the Ultimate Edition of the Soul Sacrifice called Delta. And lastly, Half Minute Hero, The Second Coming, back in 2014. We get Stellar Glow in 2015. And now we're getting closer to the end of Yasunori's career till date. So in 2017, we get music compositions for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Valkyrie Revolution, and Final Fantasy 15 episode Ignis. And the last stop we're going to make for this week is in 2019, where we arrive at our last stop. We're going to listen to the main theme of the mobile game Another Eden, and the main theme has the same name as the title of the game. So we're going to listen to the track also called Another Eden. The main theme from the game Another Eden. And I don't know about you guys, but for me this is more of a simplistic version of how I think he interpreted Chrono Trigger music. Because this is so freaking beautiful, and this is how I imagined a more of a orchestral version of the Chrono Trigger soundtrack. And of course he have already remade his own version of it, but I haven't listened to it. But now as I'm listening to this one, this is how I imagine it to be. It is beautiful, it is sincere, and I just love the melodies in this one. So we ended this week with two more emotional type of tracks, in my opinion, not the usual adrenaline rush music that I usually enjoy and listen to. So I hope you did enjoy these picks, because they're unique, they're really nice, but also it is the only tracks that he did for these two games. So when it comes to Another Eden is, as I quickly named, it is a mobile platform game. It was created by the Japanese game studio Right Flyer Studios, and the soundtrack here was composed by Shunsuke Chuziyama and Mariam Abenazar, and also together with the sound director Takeshi Tamagami. So Yasunori did not actually work on the original soundtrack here, but it did only work on the main theme for this game. And I do not know that much more of this game other than that it is a JRPG type of styled game. I don't know anything else about it. It looks beautiful though. That's what I do know about it. From art I've seen while researching, it looks beautiful. But yeah, this is kind of the end stop from what we have together with Yasunori Mitsuda for this week. He is still active, working with game music, and just looking at the jumps we're doing here in the later years, maybe we will get another game soon together with Yasunori and his music, because we jumped from 2017 into 2019, then we have a blank year of 2020, and so far we don't have anything else for 2021. But hopefully, if we're going to jump these 2 years ahead all the time now, I hope that we are going to get one more soundtrack from Yasunori. It would be amazing to hear, especially with what we've been listening to these last 2 tracks. They're fucking amazing, so I just think he's going to be fucking amazing continuing to work with the rest of the music. And with that said, this is the end of this week's episode. It's always interesting to dive down and get more information about these composers. I hope you guys out there are actually searching some information as well when it comes to the different composers. If you're starting to like what I'm providing with each and every episode, also with the information, I hope you're going to go in and look at more of these games. Is there any game that I've said this today that you've been playing yourself, a game that you really, really like, for example? Then feel free to just please write it down. I want to know. I want to know you guys some more. Which games are you playing? Which music do you like the most? Which composers do you like the most? That have been working on. Maybe you don't know all the composers. Check a game that you like. Check out the composer and check what the composer has worked as well on. And then please write it in the comments in one of my episodes. I would love to see what other composers. There are so many out there, and if they do have a bigger kind of career with a lot of games in, then it will be just more interesting, just like we did with Yasunori here, to go through and see where they came from, what they've been doing, and what led up to what they are today. So, with that said, other episodes of this podcast, you'll find those on our homepage, Videospelsklubben.se. You can find it on Spotify, but also in your closest podcast app. Feel free to follow and comment on any of our social medias, either on Facebook or Instagram. Just search for Finally Game Music. And if you would like to hear your name within one of these episodes, then feel free to request a song for an upcoming episode by commenting on any of our social pages. And you can also support this podcast and future content and future quality upgrades, but also, in the end and most importantly, future composers by becoming a Patreon. And our current awesome backers that we have today is Mikael Sjöberg, Andreas Nilsson, and Daniel Onemark. Thank you so much for being a big part in supporting this podcast. Links where you can either buy or support the composers behind the music that we'll listen to today, so in this case, Yasunori Mitsuda, then you'll find those in our main post at videospelsklubben.se. The next week, we're going to have a little bit of a special episode. One thing that I do really love, especially when I'm listening to remixes, is because they are usually striving towards this kind of thematic. So the next theme for next week is going to be called Uplifting. So when you're feeling down and you just want to get back up on your feet and feel happy again, these are the tracks we're going to focus on for next week. We're going to focus on games where you're being knocked down and the villain is as great as ever. We need to feel the power surging back through our body in order to overcome obstacles. It will be interesting to see what I find, and it will be interesting if you are going to go ahead and make some requests as well. As I said, and I'm saying it again, it is super interesting to see what games you come along with, because we're all coming from different ends of the gaming spectrum. So it's interesting to see what games you have in your storage while I'm picking out some of mine. And with that said, have a great week, everybody, and do take care.